here's how I got into and out of chronic pain. And hopefully this will help you or someone that you know, because it would have saved me a lot of time and pain to know this. So about 10 years ago, I threw out my back doing deadlifts. I had to get taken out of the gym on a stretcher. It was so bad. And ever since then, every 6 months, I've re-injured that back injury. And I was sitting on a porch in Austin in February of this year, and I said at the end of a meditation, you know what I've never done? A pistol squat, a one-legged squat. So much to my chagrin, I decided to get up and do it there on the spot and throw out my back again. And I re-entered a very stressful environment and situation shortly thereafter. So instead of just being reactivated in that injury and having trouble walking and then getting to a point where I was better after a few days or maybe a couple weeks, it just got worse and worse. And all of a sudden, it got to the point where I could barely walk at all. And I could walk a couple blocks and then only a block and then only 10 steps before suddenly getting sciatic pain, shooting pain down my legs, which I had never had before. Then all of a sudden I got a pain in my neck and I started getting shooting pains down my arms and hands to the point where my body was in full body nerve pain, which was terrifying. And I started to think about how scary that was and what if I got stuck in this, and the pain got worse, not better, which to some people who deal with chronic pain, this might sound familiar, but I didn't know what was happening at the time. And so I was hobbling around and mostly laying down all day, thinking if I can just sleep this off, eventually I'll feel better. But a family friend dropped by and said, you don't look like you're in such good shape, kid. And I said, I'm not. And she said, you should read a book called The Way Out by Alan Gordon. I said, I'm in no shape to read a book. She said, okay, just look at his Instagram. And so I did. And I was like, this is interesting. It reminds me of Dr. John Sarno's book, Healing Back Pain, that I had read like 5 years prior. But I put down that book because it said, resume all physical activity immediately. And I said, if I resume all physical activity immediately, I'm going to re-injure myself. So I said, this guy's a quack, and I threw the book out. But surprise, I found my way to Alan Gordon, who was sort of in this lineage of this Sarno school of thought that says if you have an injury that is no longer mechanical, it has since healed, or the doctors or specialists can't find something that's explicitly wrong anymore, but you still experience pain, it's most likely either psychosomatic, emotionally repressed generated pain, or brain pain, neurologically generated pain, which is essentially your brain saying, hey, this person injured themselves in this way, or they tweaked their body in some way that caused pain at some point, but even though it's no longer relevant because it's now healed, we're going to err on the side of caution and just keep dropping those pain signals anytime that area gets stimulated or activated, or simply you become too aware of it or worried about it. And so I was like, that kind of makes sense. Let me play around with this, but I couldn't fully buy into it because a lot of these specialists were saying you should tell yourself it's safe to feel these sensations. And I told myself, well, if I tell myself it's safe to feel this pain, then maybe my brain will interpret that as I want to feel more pain. Well, if it's safe, I'll just keep feeling this pain, no problem. But it turns out the opposite is actually true. If you tell yourself that you're safe when you feel this pain, if you, as they say, watch the pain arising in your body like a fireworks show and you just allow it to unfold without going into fear, then you don't recreate this pain by essentially going into a fear spiral, because your fear and pain signals in your brain are closely correlated. And so if you say, I'm scared, regardless of the content, I'm scared if this pain stays, I'm scared, what if I can't get out of it, whatever it is, what if I can't do something that I want to do because I'm in this pain, your brain just interprets that as fear, and therefore it gives you more pain because it doesn't know any better. And so that spiral gets worse instead of better. And then you maybe go see specialists and people who tell you, oh, we don't know, you seem fine. Maybe it's all in your head, which it sort of is, but it sort of isn't. It's more complex than that. And so PRT, as Howard Schubiner and Alan Gordon talk about, is this pain reprocessing therapy where basically, I'm summarizing, and I'm going to drop notes and resources in the description so you can learn more from the actual experts, but it's basically along the lines of telling your brain, hey, if in fact you have verified that you no longer have a mechanical injury and you're safe now, I'm safe. I don't need this pain. Maybe you even say, this is fake pain. This is fake brain pain. It's safe to move now. It's safe to be confident. I'm no longer fragile in the ways that I've become accustomed to feeling. So you start talking to your brain in this way, and you start reconditioning that pain response. And you do want to resume physical activity, although maybe not fully gung-ho like old Sarno recommended, but in a way that feels sustainable and manageable, but more importantly, in a way that's calm and as confident as possible, as opposed to fearful. And in so doing, you recondition your brain and you recondition your body and that connection to be more and more pain-free. On the emotional side of things, you can look at something like Nicole Sachs and journal speak, but another thing that you can be aware of as far as why that mechanism works of uncovering repressed emotions, whether it's anger or grief or anything else, and how that will relate to the physical pain or lack thereof you experience in your body, can be illustrated in this story about my good old chiropractor Mike. Now, this man had flowing hair like Jesus. He was in a band with a bunch of other chiropractors, and he was moving to Europe in a month. And he said, listen, I don't really need to retain my clientele anymore because I'm moving to Europe. And so I've been telling them to do this thing called expressive writing. And like 60-70% of them have told me they don't even need to come back and see me. They're free of pain. I just told them to do this one thing on a regular basis. And expressive writing is basically you sit down with a pen and paper and you scribble unintelligibly. You don't even need to be able to read what you're writing. Writing about the petty, negative, sticky, dark shadow emotions that we normally repress. Like you're really pissed at this person. You can fill in the blank of how you might verbalize that or write that down, but you really let it flow. You let it be as petty as possible. And the way you allow yourself to do that without self-judgment is you just say, this is a part of me. There's a part of me that's gentle and loving and kind, but there's also this other part of me that feels angry or saucy or petty in this way. And so I'm going to let it flow. All these repressed things that I normally don't even acknowledge, maybe not even to myself, I'm going to write them out, scribble them out, acknowledge that it's just a part of me and allow those emotions to flow through my body as I do, and then rip it up when you're done. And do that every day for 5 minutes, or maybe every other day on a regular enough basis at your own pace so that you can process that emotional energy and start to feel the shifts from that stuck energy that might be in your body and creating or exacerbating that physical pain. So the combination of that emotional work and that PRT, pain reprocessing therapy, allows you to approach the issue from both angles. And of course, if you've been in chronic pain for a long time, it might take a while to get out of it. There might be a limit to how much you can alleviate, but I would say to whatever extent you can leverage your mindset and be as positive and open to positive shifts as possible, I think that's a great thing. So I would highly encourage that. And I'm going to drop resources again in the description. So check those out, explore them at your own pace, and let me know your experience with this if you want in the comments. I would love to support in any way that I can, but I hope the story was helpful in and of itself. And have a great day.